Welcome to Have You Read Any Good Books? I'm Mavis Applewater, and this is Author Chat. Joining us today is Nancy Ann Healy, also known as J.A. Armstrong.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah. You got a lot of aliases there.
I do. It's because I don't know who I am. It's all
Uh,
right.
that's okay. I did notice J.A. Armstrong. Candace and Jameson. Isn't Jameson the name of one of your dogs?
It
I'm
is.
just,
And
just,
and everyone thinks he's named after the whiskey, even though he's a boy and Jameson is a girl. He's actually named after Jameson.
uh,
My other dog is Tullamore, so I suppose,
oh, okay. All right.
you know, it could
So
go either way.
there is a whiskey thing going on there.
Hmm.
Having served both of those many, many times
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
long bartending career.
Little Irish whiskey never hurt. Well,
No,
maybe it
well,
did. Few
well,
people.
I don't know. It was good for me. The Bumbling Bard. Hello.
I lost you.
Uh,
I didn't hear that. What?
my
Weird.
mic,
I
my
know.
mic's weird today. You know what? The kid was playing with it the weekend. You got me now? Yes.
I got you. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Links will be in the description below. For your website and Instagram, Facebook, all that fun stuff. So people will know how to reach out and, well, not necessarily touch you,
Uh,
but
oh well.
I'm old enough to get that one. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Well, keep losing you.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
I don't have
Yeah.
you. There we go.
Uh,
Yeah, I took off my headphones. We'll see if that helps.
all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I just disconnected. You know what? The bean was playing with the microphone. We had a sleepover with the Munchkin, and I said, "Don't play with Nunny's microphone." And it's a kid. She's 8. She's gonna play with the microphone.
Of course she is. It's cool.
I
I
would.
get it.
Yeah.
I have a 34-year-old and he would probably do it.
Yeah. All right. And Alex and Cassidy.
Mhm.
Now, did that come out of your studies from now I'm looking at my notes here. I like to take notes because I'm old and I forget crap.
It's good for a writer to take notes
It
anyway.
is,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nancy, 7 bestsellers I have, but it's been more, right?
Yeah.
It has.
Yeah. Now, but
Uh, I always think
but for
of
Alex and Cassidy, yeah, I think it's 7 books now.
I always
Now.
think of Alex and Cassidy first.
Yeah, well, it was my Intersection was my first book.
It was.
So I think there's a lot of people, maybe not more recent readers. They probably know Jay Armstrong more,
Yeah.
but people who started reading, initially, that's what they know me for sure. Under my name, that's what they know me for sure. Is Alex and Cassidy. And no, it was actually born out of fan fiction because when I wrote fanfic, which I had never intended, I didn't even know what it was. And I didn't, and I wanted to write a play. And I was in school and I hadn't written anything in years. I used to do stand up and I'd written plays. And my son and one of my friends were like, "Why don't you write a fan fiction?" And I was like, "What is that? What is that?" And my son's like, "Well, write for something." And my wife had come home and said, "Have you ever watched Xena?" And I said, "Yeah, when Chris was little." And she goes, "Well, her best friend really liked it." She goes, I've never seen it. Can we watch it?" And I said, "You really want to watch Xena?" And she said, "Yes." All right, whatever. And if you watch it with your kid, you watch it a little differently. Like I didn't
Hmm.
watch it religiously. And to me, it was like, gods and monsters and mythology. And then we started watching it. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what is going on? How did I miss this all these years? And so I said to my friend, "I'm actually watching Xena." She goes, "Well, write a Xena fanfic." So I did. I wrote a post fin, and way more people read it than I ever would have imagined.
It is
And a lot of those
amazing.
people were like, "You should write something original." So it was like, well, what would I write? And I wrote Intersection because I like political thrillers. I read a lot of them and I like them in television shows. And so that's how it happened.
And you do like political fiction. I mean,
I
it's
do.
political thrillers, and you're very good at writing them. Uh, the one behind me, I don't know if you could see it. We want to make
Yep.
sure get the artwork going. That's number 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Swan and the Sparrow was
Yeah.
released last August.
Yeah. That's actually part of the series, but it is about Claire Brackett, who starts as kind of an adversary, if you will, in the first 3 out of the 4 books to Alex. And then you learn a lot of things about her as time goes on. So by book 7, she's not an adversary. She's like part of the family. And so this is really her story. So it's part of the series, and it certainly keeps the series in line. And there's a lot of the political element in it. But it's really about her and her love interest, Ileana, more than the other books. So
Yes.
mhm,
Now you had well, you did stand up
I
and
did.
you had a film in the works, but then we had COVID.
Yeah, it's still happening. It
Oh, good.
just keeps getting pushed for various things. And, money is always a concern. It's gotten more expensive, unfortunately, post COVID. And the people that I have on board, they do major television shows. They're not people who just, they're people who are, I mean, yes, they do major television shows. And so I have to be cautious about when we're going to film and things
Right.
like that, because they're not going to make the same kind of money doing a pilot as they will doing CSI Miami or CSI Hawaii or whatever the heck they're filming. So there's that to consider, and there's the cost. Most of them are on the West Coast.
Well, and
If we if we
there's
film
unions,
here,
the
well, it is a union project.
yeah,
Um, so
mhm,
that's, and when you fundraise online, a lot of people don't understand this, but you don't make what you see,
right.
even though you put that in the disclaimer. I mean, they take money right off the top
Hmm.
immediately, 5%. Anything you're sending, whatever the perks are, it's the cost of the perks, the cost of shipping, the cost of marketing. And then if you can't pay it out right away, it's taxable income,
Right.
even for a company, because you're not paying it out. So that's what happened. We got hit with COVID,
Hmm.
planning to film. And so we lost really almost half of what we made between taxes
Right.
and fees. So it's building that money back up to uh, film and do
Yeah.
something adequate. But yeah, it's still happening.
Good deal. Wow. And you just came back from traveling because we first tried to set this up. You're like, I'm gonna be on the road
Yeah,
to
my best friend just moved back to England, and
um
so after 12 years here, and it was stressful, and I had been there, and then it was like, you need, can you come back kind of thing, because we had a whole shipping everything across the pond is a lot different than packing stuff up and going to a new house a few miles away, or
oh,
even a
can't
few
even
states
imagine.
away. Yeah, so that's why. So I was there, and I was like, what in the bloody hell? So
Get your Britishism in.
yeah, for sure.
Well, I don't know if you get the email because I said, well, why are you coming to Vegas? Because you'll never guess where I live.
Do you live in Vegas?
I live in Vegas. Yes.
Oh,
I was going to say, let's get together for coffee or something.
well, we will. I want to take my wife back out there, because one of my side hobbies, is doing bird photography. And I had absolutely no idea how many really great places out there are to
It really
go.
is. Everyone just thinks of the Strip, which if you live here, you never go to unless you have
Right.
tickets to a show or someone's visiting, something like that. And then people go, well, I want to go see. It's like, oh God, I don't want to go to the Strip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go
I
to
don't
Red Rock
care.
Canyon,
Yeah.
Spring Mountain Reserve. There are really beautiful places out here.
Sally lived right near Red Rock. You could
Oh,
see it
okay.
when you went out. Right near Red Rock Casino, actually. You
Yeah.
could walk to Red Rock Casino from her
Oh, okay.
house. So we weren't near the strip really. We went down for dinner one night. That's it.
That's like good because 18 miles from the casino.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 25 minutes. Yeah. So
Again, you live here, you don't really.
yeah.
No, no. So, okay, well, I was trying to get you. I was reading about your education, and it's like, oh my God, I'm always impressed with
Luna,
degrees
say
that
hello, Luna. Go ahead. Oh, my dog.
oh, okay, there it is. It's my notes here. Social justice. And I'm like
Mm.
wondering if that's where you got the inspiration to do political thrillers there.
I always liked political thrillers. I mean, I was always kind of a political junkie until the last couple of years, and now I just
You know,
can't.
look what happened.
I just can't even do it, or I won't be able to write because I'll go to mental town.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, social justice. I started actually when I went back to school studying to be a minister. I wanted to be a prison chaplain.
Oh,
And then just a lot of different things happened. I worked in a church and I just saw a lot of stuff and I was changed my mind. And so I transferred to ASU into social justice. And certainly it's informed my writing, I think, but maybe not so much in the political thriller way, more in thinking about representing underrepresented groups and marginalized groups and how I want to do that. And probably also in writing things where you have hero and villain models and how do you want people to perceive those? What's a hero and what's a villain? I think that's a big part of what I think about when I write, particularly the political thrillers in the new series that I'm starting, which is kind of vampiric. Like, you know,
oh,
a
cool.
lot of people we would consider, I might consider a villain, don't consider themselves a villain.
No,
You know, it's one of the hard, I think, things if you're going to depict human beings holistically. It's not up to me to decide who's the hero and who's the villain. It's up to the reader, right? Who's the hero and who's the villain.
I'm just curious how one goes from stand up to prison chaplain. It
Uh,
doesn't seem like a natural segue
Really?
then. You
Yeah,
know?
I don't know. I mean, I think that it depends on what you do for stop, Luna, what you do for stand up and
Well,
what you
see,
do
my
for
dog left the
comedy.
room.
She just wants to get down. My husky was in the way.
Ah,
Um, you know, a lot of humor comes from darker places, right?
that's so
Like, you
true.
know, making fun of yourself. Deeply empathetic people tend to become comedians because it's very historically, it's very self-deprecating.
Yes.
Historically. It hasn't become that. Comedy has changed a lot into a lot of like politics has, you know, making fun of other people as opposed to making fun of yourself or talking about your own experience. It's become a lot of cheap shotting, in my
Right.
opinion.
Oh
So
no, definitely.
yeah, it really wasn't that way when I was doing it in the late 80s and the early 90s. And you had people like Whoopi Goldberg and even Rosie O'Donnell and Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. And sure, they could poke fun at a celebrity, but it wasn't personal,
Right.
you know, and they more poked fun at themselves in their own experiences, whether it was Robin Williams talking about going through puberty or Whoopi Goldberg talking about her long locks. And,
Yeah.
you know, this is very, it's changed. Stand up is not what it once was. I don't think comedy isn't what it
Yeah.
once
I
was.
immediately flashed to Phyllis Diller talking about herself
Sure.
and
Yeah.
Fang, her husband.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what human, unless you were watching a roast of someone or something, it really tended to be more, even if you go to like situational comedies, you
Mhm.
know, back in time, Archie Bunker and things like that, where it was making fun of a family dynamic that was real and challenging. And
Right.
so I don't, you know, and tackling real issues and finding humor in things that were uncomfortable. That's the
Right.
kind of comedy that I like. It's kind of a dying art, I think. But
It was funny and educational at the same time.
yes, absolutely.
I think Carol
Mhm.
O'Connor is sitting on a cloud somewhere going, they didn't get it.
No, because we're still talking about all the same things they were
Oh,
in
we're
1972.
too, right? It's
It's
like,
crazy. It's crazy.
yeah.
Everybody has an Archie Bunker and
Oh,
everybody has a meathead in their
oh,
family. No,
you've met my family and
mine too. Mine too.
good old Boston family. That
Yeah, I hear you.
ah, wow, it's just so many titles, but you've also gotten away from you've got some other titles in there that I'm seeing that were not political thrillers.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, many. I mean, by design, which crosses over with Alex
Yeah,
and Cassidy as a political element, but none of the others really do. And the standalone novels don't. I mean,
no.
they're more, just stories about,
But
well, families and yeah.
you got a couple of hippie chicks in there. I said,
Yeah, no, well, sort of. I mean, they meet in the summer of 1969 and then they meet again in 2023, and they've been apart those 70 plus
yeah.
years. And so it's more flashing back. That actually came from a bad review.
Oh,
That book.
wow.
Yeah, I have J.A. Armstrong came out of a bad review too
Oh, good deal.
that I got. Yeah. And I was angry that someone said I couldn't write sex and so
Here you
my
go. Yeah.
yeah, that good things. Take your broken heart and make it into art. That's what Carrie Fisher said. So
Yes.
try to live by that rule.
Oh, Carrie, she was amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's amazing how, and another author told me why I got a bad review and it just ticked me off and it's just like, and it always stuck, it's still with me. And I've used it and it said, oh, it was a combination of the L word and Scooby-Doo. It's like, wow. And and a friend of mine who's a very well-known author said, why are you reading that? Why do you read those? I said, I couldn't help myself. Just,
Yeah, I don't read them much anymore. I mean, in it's still, I don't care who you are. I really don't. Like you put yourself into something,
yeah.
and I firmly believe there's a book for every author and an author for every, for every reader, a book for every reader and a reader for every book. And um I don't really. I think it's very subjective. I think people come in
Yeah.
with their own expectations and either they're pleased or they're not. And what isn't for one person is for another. I don't consider myself, an amazing writer per se. I think I'm a storyteller. People talk about honing their craft and things like that. And I sit down and, I try to improve, but mechanics, but I just want to tell a story.
Yeah.
So I approach it a little differently than some other people do, and that's fine. But
Every every author does.
yeah, I think so.
Um, and where you get that inspiration. It's so fun that you came out of fan fiction. I think we met actually. Well, not physically met. We've not done that, which is so funny because it feels like we've known each other for a while.
Yeah,
On Jay, she does the
on
whole,
Jay's group. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I was like flipping through and she was having like a get together and people to a meeting. And the book she was doing, I flipped by and I said, oh, that looks familiar. And I went, oh crap, that's one of mine. So I popped in and you were just so funny. And I was like, well, somewhere in the back of my head when I was starting to put this together, I said, I have to invite Nancy.
Yeah, Jay's great.
She
Jay's
really
great.
is. She
Yeah, she's
keeps
great.
fanfic is the start of so many authors' careers.
It certainly is. And people that I don't think people talk about that enough anymore, to tell you the truth. And I think they should because, people have they, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. When I first published 10 years ago, there was a lot more books than the people who started publishing in
Mhm.
2009, 2008. But now it is just crazy. It wasn't always that way. And people don't understand that those models weren't there. And having a forum in which to write those stories and share those stories is where things really blew up.
It's true, and I'm looking forward to we're doing in the fall, we are doing a fiction panel, which I think that we're gonna have to split up into different nights because I'm gonna have to try to wrangle at least 10 authors into
Mm-hmm.
agreeing on a date and time. Good luck to me. I may drink afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, all got their start in fanfic.
Yeah.
All of them. Uh and I'm also going to be talking with Karen Callmaker, who started
Mm-hmm.
back in the day where and I almost started this way, but you physically typed up a proposal, typed on a typewriter,
Yeah.
and mailed it in to one of the three publishers.
Publishers. Yeah.
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 You didn't self-publish.
No,
No.
no. No. And I mean, there's a lot of different schools of thought on that. I worked in the other side of books for a long time. I managed in bookstores and did purchasing. I worked for a college bookstore that was also a general bookstore, trade bookstore. Um, and we did like 160 events a year. And a lot of them were where they were with everybody from the guy down the street who just told the story and slapped a cover on it to, New York Times bestselling authors
Yeah.
on tours. And I spent a lot of time sitting with different authors, and it certainly informed my decision to self-publish. That's what I'll tell you for sure. It
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
did.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I miss,
Not for any bad. I mean, I think I also don't think there's a right or a wrong way to publish. I mean, you it's you got to figure out what it is you want to, what you have to put into it, and what do you want to get out of it, and go from there, in my opinion.
and let's be I think some authors fare better with guidance of a publisher.
Yeah, for
Some
sure.
need that. And some fare better with, okay, I've gotten what I can out of that and I'm good. I'm good on my own.
Yeah, sure.
I feel I learned a lot going through that and now I'm good.
And there's a lot of people like that. I mean, I never submitted to a publisher. It just didn't. And so, but I also didn't have any expectations.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people say, publish it, publish it, publish it. And so I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. I've learned a lot in 10 years, but it worked out. So it's fine.
And now you have audiobooks and
I
working on
do.
film, and
Yeah.
you've certainly learned a lot. What would your advice be to an up and coming author who's just
Like thinking about publishing
thinking about publishing
or just published?
or putting pen to paper? I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say stay true to yourself, accept valid criticism if it's valid and learn from it.
Mhm.
I have. Um, but tune out the people who just want to be negative, because
Right.
there will be somebody who just wants to knock you down, and there will be somebody who just doesn't like what you do. And, it's a period of history of keyboard warriors.
Oh, right.
So, just stay true. Tell the story you want to tell. If you can read it back and you love reading it back and you love taking the journey again, I guarantee you there are going to be multiple people who will feel the same way. And if it reaches one person who's moved by it, you've more than done your job. And that's the way that I feel about it. So, you got to decide what you want to get out of it.
Well
You want to
said.
make a lot of money. If you want to, you got to really think about what you want to do.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can all agree as authors. That reminds me, click like and subscribe and visit the gift shop. If you want to make a lot of money, this is probably not the field to go into.
A
It's
lot of work.
enjoy do it because you love it. I
You
would say.
should do it. Well, I will tell you this. If you don't do it because you love it, you're going to be frustrated 24/7. And I make my living writing, and
Yeah.
you will be frustrated if you don't do it because you love it.
Yeah.
Believe me,
Speaking
because
of
I've
being,
fallen down that rabbit hole.
yeah,
You can't. You got to do what you love.
it's true. Now, what is on the horizon? What can we look forward to?
Oh,
No
so many
spoilers,
things.
but
No. So yeah, there's both a new Alex and Cassidy book coming, probably the end of June, Concealment.
so about
Um,
6 weeks. That's nice.
yeah, probably the end of June. I'm slipping in. I've been working on this new series for 2 years, and it's called The Mortal Bloodlines, and it's kind of a vampire story, but they're not traditional vampires. I don't want to give too much away, but they're immortal. And it's a lot of it is set throughout history, and a lot of it's set in Ireland. And I spend a lot of time in Ireland. So
Nice.
that I'm trying to slip in. It's very different than anything I've written. It's very different than any vampire story I've ever read. So hoping to have that out more towards the middle of June. That's why the other one might be pushed a little. I have a lot of it written, but it might be pushed a little. And then I have a surprise coming.
Ooh,
That's some J.A. Armstrong. It's shorts. It's a collection of shorts. chapters, we'll say scenes, one shots, whatever you want to call it, short stories of different characters in the first person going through an experience about one of the other main characters. I'm going to do, it's called snapshots. I'm going to do a couple of them just because people ask for, to catch up with the characters, but each book will have a reverse. So like this one will have Addie talking about Emma, Candace talking about Jameson, Carrie talking about Devon, and then like that, Brooke talking about Tess. And then the next one will do the opposite, but it's just a chapter, like a 5,000 word chapter of each. So that will be coming as a little surprise. And then if something grabs me, you never know. I'm not great. I get beat up for this sometimes at like, here's the date it's coming, because I can't write that way. If I don't hear it, if I don't hear it, I just have to set it aside and go back to it. I'm not that kind of writer. I can't make myself write it. I just can't.
With deadlines. No, I hear that. When I was with Blue Feather, I used to drive them crazy. They're like, well, soonish.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not there yet. It's not there. It's just not there.
Yeah.
Okay, so June though, but in the summer, hopefully.
They'll both be out in the summer.
And Immortal, I love that kind of genre, and a political thriller. Hopefully you will be keeping us going. Something to read while you're relaxing, while the kids are driving you crazy because they're home from school.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a great escape.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Beach read time, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always, since I was young, found books to be the ultimate escape. It's like, just let me crack it open.
Yep. For sure.
Open it up. Yep. Now, the first time you sat down and said, let me try to write this down, it was, I'm assuming, more for you than the outside world.
Yeah, you mean like books? Like,
Books,
yeah. I mean, I wrote the fan, like I said, I wrote the fan fiction because I wanted to write a play about an experience I had. We had a student shot in my bookstore.
Oh my God.
Yeah, in exactly a week later, my mother died. So my mother was dying in hospice at the exact same time. And the kid that shot her he got away. And so there were pleas for him to turn himself in. And that has a lot to do with why I went into ministry, actually, or thought about it.
Okay.
I wanted to write a play that wasn't specifically about gun violence or political, but that explored the experience from both sides, if you will. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to write. So that's how I started writing the fanfic. And then I did write Spin. And I did produce it for charity in LA in 2019. So that was, a pretty cool experience.
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a note on that.
Yeah. And that was a cool experience for me because I hadn't done theater in a lot of years. And so it was a lot of fun we sold out the theater. Wow. And it was a really cool experience. So that it was for me to kind of get some of that emotion out, I guess. But it also was because I really wanted to hopefully make people think about the humanity and the human element. And people get so caught up in the politics of things that they forget about people. I think that's why I write. Yeah. Stories inherently are about people, it doesn't really matter what you're writing. It could be elves. It's still a projection of human emotion, and vampires. It's still about people, and their relationships.
I have always said it's cheaper than therapy.
It is.
It is. It really is.
For sure it is. Yeah.
But that's a lot of emotion to deal with in a 7 day,
Yeah, exactly. Wednesday to Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as my wife always says, pain is relative to our experience. She lost her dad when she was 12 in a helicopter crash. And so, in the National Guard and peacetime, it was all over the national news. So she's been through that with me. She lost her ex-girlfriend in the Pulse nightclub shooting. And so, I mean, but it's that, I don't mean that in like, the more you live and the more people you get to know and the more you reach out and you grow, the more things are both negative and positive are going to happen to you. And so I think, but I do think that's why I write. How do we just lose the people equation? It's the same reason I read.
Yeah.
Was it, like we lose the people equation in things. And I think progressing society and people's rights and people's relationships, art plays a really big role in that, both to see ourselves and to interact with models that are not like us and then see how they are like us.
Well, Melissa sounds like a very positive influence on you.
Melissa's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a redhead. What are you going to do?
Oh, well, there you go. My first crush was a redhead.
Yeah, she's an honest to goodness redhead. Got the fire behind her and everything. Absolutely.
Wives are a wonderful thing. Life is a journey, not a destination. You created.
Yeah.
I point out that those are your words because I have quoted authors before and they've gone, "Oh, that sounds interesting." I'm like, "Okay, that's from your website." Okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love writers. It's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still my philosophy. Sometimes I lose a little bit of sight of that though. I
Yeah,
mean, when I started this writing, publishing, I was just astounded at where it led me, the people it led me to, the experiences. And I still am. But the more that you have these experiences, the more you feel, I don't know, maybe like stressed that you need to do more or achieve more again. And you can lose sight of the journey. That
yeah.
happens to people a lot. The journey doesn't do this. It doesn't do this. It does this, and you have to kind of ride those waves. And that's always after COVID. I think it was a challenge for a lot of people,
I think we're still. I think everyone's
Oh,
like COVID's. It's like no. I think we're still recovering from COVID in so many ways.
we
But
are.
no.
Yep, we are learning how to communicate again,
Yeah, yeah,
for sure. Absolutely. It changes when you're alone and maybe, look for people who really didn't have anybody,
right.
don't have a spouse, don't have kids, don't have, were just literally by themselves for almost 2 years. It's a huge shift and a shift again emotionally to figure out how to maneuver normal. What was normal
Right.
isn't normal anymore. It's a new normal.
Yeah. Did you look at each other? Because I felt we looked at each other a lot and said, "Thank God we have each other."
Oh,
Whatever
absolutely.
deity you.
Yeah, we went to our best friends, Nadine and Val's, in the beginning, and we would sit in the driveway, when you were really supposed to
Yeah.
stay apart, and in our lawn chairs, and just sit there in the cold,
Right.
with
Oh, right.
coffee,
New
because
England.
you
Yeah.
just freaking have to be able to see people, and then, we sort of decided that none of us were seeing anybody, so we started seeing them a little bit, but
Yeah.
other than that, we didn't see anybody. But of course, my son, he ended up, working in the hospital, getting his, and so
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
They weren't home.
Well, I am looking forward to new titles. And anyone who is not familiar with Nancy's work, we're gonna list thebumblingbar.com is the website you want to check out, and also her Facebook page. And again, listed in the description below as always. Please click like and subscribe. And Nancy, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was great.
Okay, and goodbye, people.
See you on the other side.